there was probably 3 times where we were one of the 4 best teams, but we didn't earn it on the field. And so the same opportunity is going to present itself. It's just not going to be at 13, 14, and 15. I'll give a little bit more context to the end of that quote, but that was something that Kirby Smart said at the spring SEC media meetings. Of course, the big one over the summer will be in Dallas, Texas this year. Actually, I got to book my flight. But it'll be in Dallas. It'll be in July. That'll be where the big meetings are. They do smaller meetings for the coaches and all that over the course of spring, and they're doing that right now. And Kirby was asked about the playoff selection. You know, you could make it with more than one loss, right? We've never seen that happen when it was a 4-team deal, but now that the playoffs are being expanded to 12 teams, we're going to see teams that have 2 losses, maybe 3, depending on the situation, get into the college football playoff and have an opportunity to go on and win the national championship. I don't think, like, if I had to sit here and predict, and I've done that, it feels like over and over, I don't think that Georgia is going to lose. I just don't think they're going to lose 2 games. One is totally possible. The expectation that they're going to go 12-0 for 4 consecutive regular seasons is ridiculous on paper. When you say it out loud, it's possible. I think that it's in play. If we're being realistic, 1 loss is realistic, right? That's the best way to put it. 1 loss might happen. Will it be the Texas Bama Ole Miss? I don't know. But like my betting numbers, I would say bet on 11 games if it works that way. I know it's usually an over/under, and I would tell you to go with the over because I think it's 10.5. Anyway, that's not what he was asked about. He was asked about just kind of how the landscape is different. So he said, no matter what, you're gonna have teams that are arguing. Oh man, and he hit it right on the head with this part of it, talking about how, well, you know what? No matter what, there's gonna be people that are complaining about it. A year ago, you had Florida State complain. The year prior, the year prior was kind of easy. The year before that, Ohio State wanted a piece at it. They ended up getting that in 2022. I think about the year, I believe it was that first year where that TCU team was really, really good, and then they didn't make it in. There's always going to be teams that complain. And in this case with the 12 team, he's talking about how 13, 14, 15, that's going to be where it is, the debate at the end. He said, you guys are going to debate a lot about it, and I'm going to try to make my team better so they're not 13, 14, and 15. And since year 2 of Kirby Smart in Athens, and this is coming up on year 9, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, year 9. So in 7 out of 8 years of Kirby Smart, Georgia is finished in the top 12. This is a Red Zone shirt, by the way. Junkyard Dogs. Make sure you're checking out the Red Zone. I'll link the Red Zone down below in the description along with our newsletter. This is Ryan Kelly from Dawg Post. Saw a couple of people at the store today. Some of you guys know I work there part-time. But the funny part about it is, as I scramble, is that Georgia's not going to be ranked 12 or 13 or 14. Right? Georgia's going to be ranked, if I had to guess, 1 or 2 heading into the college football playoff. If not, then 5 or 6 or 7. Something like that. I really just kind of have a hard time seeing a scenario where Georgia is ranked lower than at 7 or 8. Like, I think at minimum, Georgia should have a home playoff game, even though I think that they'll end up with a bye because I am predicting that Georgia will win the SEC championship. Let's read a little bit more of Kirby's quote. Do I think this is what he said. I'll try to fly through it. I can't put this one on the screen. It wouldn't be legal for me to. Do I think there are going to be teams in the playoffs with multiple losses? Yes. In the playoff, most certainly there is. How do you differentiate? I'll leave that to the committees. That's why we have the system we have. It happened yesterday in baseball. There's a lot of debate about what teams get in baseball. There's going to be a lot of debate about what basketball teams get left out. You saw this past year, timeout on the quote, you saw this past year, just a couple months ago, people were really not happy about the way that they seeded March Madness. I, as someone who actually didn't watch as much college basketball as I usually do this past season, saw the bracket and was like, whoa. All right? And that's how I felt about the College Football Playoff Committee's top 4 this past year. Keep going. There's going to be a lot of debate about what football teams get left out. Ultimately, everyone has a chance to go out on a grass and go out, well, it might be turf, and go out and play and earn the right to be in. Somebody's going to be left out, but probably shouldn't. I try to control what I can control because I can't control what committee or what someone thinks should be in. And we've had that with the 14 playoff. Going back to the end of this quote where I started with it, this is the important part. There was probably 3 times where we were one of the 4 best teams, but we didn't earn it on the field. 2023, what happens? It seems like Georgia was the best team to most, to all. I don't know. They were certainly top 2 if you didn't think that they were better than Michigan. That was the thought. Heading into, December 3rd, December 2nd, December 4th. That's the last 3 SEC championship dates, so I'm blanking on them. Heading into that first weekend of December when they've got to play Alabama and Bama gets the better of them, people thought they were the best. And I literally told it to someone today. I'm recording this the night before. This video should be going out Wednesday morning. I told someone today, look, they just lost on the wrong day. Someone was complaining to me about it. I said they lost on the wrong day. If Georgia would have lost on any other day throughout the course of the season, a 12-1 SEC championship was undeniably getting in. But a 12-1 SEC championship loser, it wasn't enough in the committee's eyes in a jumbled up playoff scenario where you've got Texas and Florida State and Oregon and Washington, all these teams fighting for a spot. Well, what were the other 2 times where he says probably had one of the 4 best teams but didn't earn it on the field? I think about the 2018 team. That definitely was very, very good. Well, what happened in 2018? They lost. They lost a regular season game, and then they go on and they lose to who? Does anyone want to guess? Jalen Hurts. In the 4th quarter of that SEC championship game, he gets inserted in the second half, and he does good things that Tua wasn't able to do that day. And yet again, not only did Georgia not earn its way on the field or its way into the playoff, it was Alabama. It was at the hands of Alabama. Let's look at the 2018 college football playoff. Let's see this thing because I'm blanking on it. Notre Dame versus Clemson, number 2. 30-3 Clemson, and of course, that was the year that Alabama beat Oklahoma with Kyler Murray, Heisman winner. 1-loss Oklahoma. Hard to not to put them in there at 4 or whatever position it was. Hard to not put them in there over a 2-loss Georgia team that we just watched. We know that they're neck and neck with Alabama. We know that they've only lost 1 game to that point. It's just better, right? It ended up being 45-34 in that Oklahoma game. I remember it not in super detail. I remember a Josh Jacobs touchdown off the top of my head. I remember that the 34 points were not all scored early on and that Alabama kind of ran away with it earlier on. So I think that 2018 was another example of, hey, Georgia, they just didn't earn their way on the field at the end of the day, regardless of being one of the 4 best teams. Excuse me? That's just what happened. I think that the other year that you can really say that, I just don't know if they were one of the 4 best teams in 2019 when they got thumped by LSU. It was LSU versus Oklahoma with Jalen Hurts and Alabama versus, I'm blanking, guys. I'm blanking on the playoffs now. This is going to drive me nuts. It was Alabama versus Clemson. Yeah, I'm not dumb. Okay. It was Alabama versus Clemson, or Clemson versus Ohio State. I knew that Alabama didn't make it that year. I wasn't dumb. I'm wrong, and I was wrong twice somehow. LSU thumped Oklahoma, and Clemson beat a pretty good Ohio State team. I wouldn't argue that 2019 was one of those years. It sounded to me like Kirby was arguing that. But 100% in 2018, that Georgia team was really good. You think about how good of a year DeAndre Swift and Elijah Holyfield had out of the backfield. You think about Jake Fromm, some really good defenders on that team. That's like Tyson Campbell's freshman year. Like good defensive backs being developed on that squad. The 2023 team was a bona fide championship team that didn't make it. And now you think that the carryover will happen, and then that will happen in 2024. But I tell you what, if it's up to Kirby Smart, if it's up to every Georgia fan, and if it's up to just the universe, because the football universe loves the Dogs recently, they're not going to be ranked on the outside looking in these 12-team, 13-team playoffs. You're not going to see them ranked 13, 14, 15, unless they just have a year that you don't expect. unless they just have a like a Clemson year last year, or or a little bit better than that actually. I just don't expect that out of Georgia. I expect them to be in that 12-team playoff with ease, and they should have a bye if you're asking me. And what I'm asking you to do is to sign up for the newsletter. Link below. Thanks for watching.